So Nate, let me ask you this question. Could you reiterate the convict codes?
They had a code that was fairly standard for men. We talking about men in uniform, and we talking about men, as well as being subjugated to incarceration, right? But it was a man's code. Actually, they was running their institution according to that code, that behavior aspect. It was locked in those policies, man. And why I say that is because even the officers, for me to talk to you, the officers, would tell you straight out. If I walk up to an officer back then and start speaking, they'd say, "Hold up, go get your second man. Go get your homie." Just like that, go get your homie before you talk to me. You see what I'm saying? Because they want that second person there, as well as they gonna have their second person there, So whatever being exchanged, it's gonna be exposed. In other words, you ain't gonna whisper nothing to me. I ain't gonna allow you to whisper nothing to me. You see what? And that's how the officers carry. The same way with us. We carried the same way. Now, we had groups that started coming in, later on, and it was fairly, everybody was living according to that code. Now, that code was in harmony. We talking about on the officer side as well as on our side. It was in harmony. It kept the BS down. It kept the trouble down. It kept, you see what I'm saying, the snitching down. Because they ain't like them either. So they used them, but they ain't like them. So it was a line. And everybody respected the line. But later on, down the line, the concept started changing, man. Even on their side, the concept and keeping that balance, you see what I'm saying? It was less killing. It was killing, but it was less killing. When everybody adapted to that code. And that code it wasn't no institutional code. It wasn't no institutional policy. It was a code, you see what I'm saying, a policy of respect for a man. Simple as that. Simple as that. Event is the event. Respect is respect. On both sides. And they ran their institutions just like that. But those policies was locked in the interpretation of that individual officer interpreting that policy according to those codes. Same way on our side. We lived and died by it. You come in, hey, jump in line. They not having it. They wasn't having it. We wasn't having it. You see what I'm saying? The white boys wasn't having it. So-called white boys wasn't having it. The Mexicans wasn't having it. Or any other group. What they wasn't having. They were living by that code, and that code was lived by in harmony with the policies of that institution for everybody's survival. Now, when a person violated that code and those policies, they got what they got by whoever, because they was doing it too. I'm talking about officers. They would be the first one to do it or create the situation so the situation can do it. It was common. Later on, the concept just started changing. People was coming in, the groups was coming in, started changing. Those concepts, and then those changes, man, started with internal conflict, not just with DC code offenders, but all over, even with the officers. Because that concept, and even the officer would say, "Hold up, man," for them to solve a situation. That young officer or whatever, his concept was different from how that situation is supposed to be solved from the old, how they normally solve the situation. And that officer would come up and tell him quick, "What are you doing, man? No, you can't talk to him like that. Unless you want willing to get that. You ain't gonna get me killed up in here. That type of thing. And they start checking them. Say, man, listen, man. You're not gonna get me killed. But the way you treating that man, or the way you speaking to that man, or so forth, so on. And in reverse to that, it was the same way. It was like, man, listen, man. It's the way you talk to that one right there. Stuff like that. So, but the concept started changing, man. On the overall, start changing, and they start getting away, drifting away from that code of conduct. That code of conduct was keeping everybody safe. Only thing you got to do is follow the code of conduct. That's all. That wasn't hard. Adapt, adjust to that code of conduct that keeps you alive. Simple as that. Not only alive from them, but alive from your own homies, because your own homies are like, hey, I'm going out there doing anything, I'm putting in danger because of what I do. I got 18 people, man, that we got to look out for each other and stay alive. But you mean to tell me I'm going to go out there and do my own thing and endanger the other 17? The homies wasn't having it. So it was a structure just like that without being spoken for. But the concept started changing.
And when the concept started to change, was it more so racial or just based on broken principles?
It was based on both, but at the same time, it was based on mainly principles. In terms, that's when, other blacks, because I wasn't from Baltimore, from New York, because I wasn't from those areas, they started looking at us different, and it was internal. In other words, the hatred came from more from our own than from the people that, man, we had problems with. So we had to fight through our own, I'm talking the concepts, we had to fight through our own and get to the real enemy, man. And it was a raging war going on, that type of thing. But they used it, And man, I got to tip my hat to them guys. I'm talking on both ends, man. I'm talking about the guys that actually fought through the distractions of the changes. Because you have a lot of people, they couldn't fight through the distraction. They went with the distraction, if you know what I'm saying. They went with and started changing. But how can you change something, man, that's been working for you? You see. But hey, man, in that those changes, man, cause what you call a devastating effect.
I think George Jackson mentioned broken men. He would
There you
never
go.
be counted as a broken one.
That's right.
Yeah, based on the principles and its beliefs.
There you go.
Yeah, and a lot of previous conditions or someone's selfish reasoning cause some people to become broken men.
That's right.
Yeah,
I can go with it. And not only that, and because of those distractions actually, actually got us away from, the interpretation of what's actually going on at the time. Being conscious of the fact. Mm-hmm. Why I say that, we already know an enemy, which is, at that time, we was at war with the nasty party on the inside. Okay, now, with that said, any group, any organized nation, any organized group, organization, they use all the tools to their advantage. We talk about communication, propaganda, they use it, Now, during that time when all this turmoil was going on, in the BOP, you had people, man, that actually lost the conscience of what was really going on with how things was conducted. And why I say that is that, you know, that they use the High House, for instance, as a organized propaganda tool for the groups involved that was functioning in the BOP. In the High House, you know, in the Nazi Party, the only group of people that actually, you know, that what you call stop their movement forward, it was DC Code offenders. We were the only ones they had problems out of. The only ones, you see what I'm saying? Without, I mean, we stopped them. We arrested them right there. In other words, that movement going forward, said, hey, you can't go no further. You see what I'm saying? And it was a race thing. It was the race thing. One thing I can say about my homies, they got a lot of race pride. You see what I'm saying? They know who they was, and they will stand up men. I'm not saying all of them. You see what I'm saying? You know, because that's what it's all about. They function on racism. Yeah, hey, that's what it was. Say, okay, you function on race. I got a lot of race pride there. You know, you can't go no further. You know, I mean, because a lot of problems, a lot of events, it wasn't about a DC Code offender. It was about other blacks from other parts of the nation, New York. Yeah, you got a problem with him? No, you got a problem with us. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, we always had the numbers. You know, back in the 70s, places like Oklahoma, California. Hey man, you know, they had a very few of us out there. We'd be lucky to have 12 from the district, 12. But the black population might make up of like 2 from North Carolina, 3 from New York. You see what I'm saying? 4 from New Orleans or places like that. Atlanta, 1, you know. California itself in the BOP, 2. You know, that type of thing. But, you know, and when it came down to our race, we were the one lead, you know, carrying that flag. Because we had a lot of race pride. You know, so we was covering all that. We was covering all that, you know. So, but we didn't have the voice, you know. And because of that resistance they got from us, you know, they used the propaganda thing against us, you know. When the Hot House came out, you know what level they put us on? You know, DC Code offenders, because we was the one that giving them the resistance on all levels. Name it. You see what I'm saying? The resistance was there. You know, so, you know, the first thing they put out say, man, you know, DC blacks. You know, only thing they known for breaking in lockers and messing with faggots. That's how they shot our character down because of who we were. You know what I mean? They ain't say nothing about, hey, them white boys, you know, or them Europeans was fucking faggots, you know, excuse the language, you know, or breaking in lockers or tearing each other off, because they tore each other off too. They don't say nothing about that, you see. But the Hot House was a propaganda tool for the same people that they used to start that war. The same people. You know, so you can cut that off. You say, yeah, I know you can, you know what I mean? And I know you can identify with that. You know, so, and it was a change. Even that concept right there and how to move, so to speak, you know, had changed. It was that code was so locked in that, you know, certain things can be done in Leavenworth. You might be going up, you know, you might go, they call Maryland at that time the southern tip, you know, and you might have been waiting to go to the southern tip maybe a year. You might have been in the hole about a year, 18 months waiting for your cell up in control. You know, they know you're coming. You know, they already know you're coming. It was like, you know, the police come around to the cell and say, barely, you know, you got a homie coming up, you know, so, but we already know. We already know through the system, see when such coming up, you know, stuff like that. Those codes, man, were so strong, and you know, the communication networks that opened up from them, see what I'm saying, so was so vital, you know, it kept everybody safe, man.
Let me ask you this. Do you think or feel the propaganda caused other groups, even blacks or other minorities, to pit against DC?
Exactly. Exactly. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that question, because you know that's what happened. You know, when a person is not conscious, you know, not only of the events that's taking place around their microscopic world, you know, but you know, not conscious of the fact what's actually, you know, going on, you know, it's easy because of what self-hatred pertaining to other events that might have happened to them. You know, hey man, that goes all over, man. If you do something to a man in Atlanta, and I'm from Atlanta, you know, and what I do to him is not right, you're gonna get what you get. It's the same concept in DC, New York, blah, 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 blah. But the whole thing is with that, it was just a built-in hatred thing because where we was from. Ain't that something? You know. Now they would believe what the hot house, with a group of Nazis put together for propaganda purposes against the guys out of the district to formulate a concept how the guys out of the district is. And you know, that propaganda did so much damage that you had guys, those didn't even know guys out of the district, man, because they were from somewhere else. And because word of mouth traveled, you know, they was hating dudes out of the district for no reason at all. They don't even know us. They had guys, man, was meeting us for the first time. Say, man, I heard so much bad shit about y'all. You see, come to find out, man, y'all ain't nowhere near how them guys describe us, describe to me how y'all was supposed to be. I say, see, you should always, man, go with your own opinion, formulate your own judgment instead of listening to somebody else. That's how profound and effective that propaganda was, that the house put out. They believed them before they even believed us, you know. And even their own homies, you know. I mean, some of the big names come out of New York. Yeah, some of the biggest names come out of New York. I gotta always go back to the island where our history has started. I'm talking about DC Code Offenders. Our history started right there as far as in the BOP is concerned. Right on Alcatraz Island. I got to go back. You know, for me to go forward, I got to go back.